by Roverman Productions. B.
Be the
The
difference.
Uncle, good morning.
How about you, sir?
Yes, Uncle.
I heard you and Daryl on Friday,
Yes.
and the conspiracy you were cooking.
How for do?
No, I've heard you. So next week, Monday, I will perform what it was you guys indicated that you wanted.
Yes. You see why we love you, Uncle.
So next week, Monday, expect that. So tell Osofo Daryl
I will let him know.
that since he started doing this job, his character has changed, Kakra.
So for Daryl. So what's it? I'm sure
There's a little bit of that ball coming into his system, Kakra. Because I started laughing when he turned the whole thing around. But Monday will be a good day.
Sure. Thank you very much, Uncle.
Well, I would say about 10 years ago, some students from one of our universities came to see me. Their mission, they had heard that one of their professors was my friend. According to them, the professor was making their lives at the university a nightmare. He was verbally abusive and rude to them. He made no attempt to hide his contempt for them and would not respond if any student greeted him. They knew that they could embark on an alluta against him, but since he was my friend, they thought that I could reason with him to at least accord them a little bit of respect. So I went to his bungalow one evening. As usual, he received me very warmly and fixed me some cocoa with a slice of cake. He then engaged me on one of my food for thought presentations that he felt was not as hard-hitting as he thought it should have been. I kept the conversation going because I needed him to be as relaxed as possible before telling him why I had come to see him.
Sure.
Then, still watching his mood, I said, "Prof, can I ask you a question?" "Of course, Abel," he said. I said, "Prof, looking at the conditions students at our universities in Ghana have to struggle with, would you have been able to complete your PhD in Ghana?" He said, "Hey, Bopa, with these conditions, I could not have even done my master's, not to mention PhD." Then he went on to tell me the kind of enabling environment and conditions under which he had studied abroad, how the lecturers went out of their way to help students with their research and so on. He said his supervisor invited him home for a meal once a week, every week, until he finished the course.
Wow.
He said, "Ebo, they make learning fun, and the lecturers demonstrate that they are there to help you." He has said more than I was expecting, and so I picked on what he had said and asked, "So, Prof, are you creating the kind of enabling environment here for your students?" He laughed and said, "Look, Ebo, the whites are different, okay?" And he changed the topic. His statement saddened me. The whites are different? Really? In what ways are the whites different? And then I realized why we are not benefiting from the exposure of our leaders in Ghana. Our leaders know what a planned city looks like because they lived and worked in some when they were abroad. But they come to Ghana and they don't try to duplicate any of the best practices they admired abroad. In their minds, the whites are different. And so the black man cannot hope to experience what a white person is enjoying. Our leaders know what good streets look like because they traveled on them every day when they were students and later workers abroad. Then they come to Ghana and it does not bother them that the roads are death traps and disastrous for cars. Why? Because in their minds, the whites are different. And so they deserve good roads. The black man does not deserve that. I understood why the conditions in Ghana and the environments in which we live and work and even study are so difficult when our leaders know what an enabling environment looks like. And even though they have the power and opportunity to create such an environment here in Ghana, they do not do it because, after all, the whites are different. But are the whites really different? This professor who told me that the whites are different, and all our leaders who act as if the whites are different know better. They know that they sat in the same classrooms with whites and outperformed them. They know that they worked in the same offices with whites and outperformed them and outclassed them. They sat in the same meetings with whites and they had better contributions to make to the meeting than the whites. So how come when it comes to duplicating what works elsewhere in Ghana, our leaders who have a lot of exposure act as if the whites are different and that we are not deserving of the same conditions here? Is a black person more corrupt than the white man? The answer is no. But the system out there is such that you know you cannot get away with the loot, and so you don't mess up with corruption. Is a white person more disciplined than the black person? No. But in Europe and North America, you cannot, for instance, jump the red light without facing consequences. It is all about the systems that are put in place and that are allowed to work. But because those who manage our affairs believe that the whites are different, they do not even try to create systems that work. They do not question why the system is not working. They are satisfied just to have excuses for why the system will not work, because after all, in their minds, the whites are different. It is a pathetic excuse, but it is a lie, and it is an insult to ourselves. But it is easier than rolling up our sleeves to do the work that we need to do to create an environment in which our people can thrive. When I was growing up, there was a statement that I used to hear that adults in my community use a lot. They would tell us, the children, if you are going to church and you meet a white man, don't bother continuing because you have met your God. End of quote. Now, Wish, I don't know whether you heard that statement before.
Yes, I've heard that also before.
If you are going to church and you meet a white man, just stand back because you have met your God.
Yeah.
It was a very popular saying, and it was never challenged. Those of my father's generation accepted it almost as a fact. But my father's generation lived under colonial rule and were conditioned to see the white man as their superior. They can be excused for even thinking that the white person is different. Our generation should know better, and we know better, and we know that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And listen, that is a quote from the US Constitution. We owe it to ourselves to do better simply because we can and because the whites are no different from us. They just try to do right whilst we take cover in excuses to do only what is selfish and what feeds our greed. We can do better. And Winston, I'd like to end with a quote from the song, Redemption Song by Bob Marley. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. And that is my presentation this morning.
Thank you very, very much, Uncle Whyte. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. We're grateful. And Darrell was just here. I told him. And he's very happy. He said, yeah. I said, yeah, Darrell, you're very, very happy.
On Friday when I was listening to you, the two of you, I said, look, these guys are taking my name in vain. But Monday we shall have fun.
Thank you very, very much, Uncle Whyte, for joining us with Food for Thought, brought to us by Roverman Productions. Be the difference. It's now time for the Joy Business Minute, brought to us by Consolidated